listeners, welcome to Leading the Way in RVA. My name is Casey Long, and I am the podcast host as well as the owner of Fulfilled Coaching and Consulting. The purpose of this podcast is twofold. First and foremost, we want to introduce you to inspiring leaders here in our Richmond community. And second, we want to bring to light different leadership topics that can support you in developing yourself as a leader. So today we're going to introduce you to that inspiring leader and leave you with some tactical tips that you can start to put into practice to develop yourself as a leader. So without further ado, I'd love to take a moment and introduce you to someone that I met a few years ago. So in my time, as I told many of you, I worked at Capital One. In my time at Capital One, walking around campus, this was definitely pre-COVID, certain people just catch your eye. And I think this person caught my eye, A, for their style, and B, for their smile. And we became quick friends, getting to know one another in our time at Capital One. And then I think COVID happened. We got away from one another, but somehow we reconnected. And every time I meet with this individual, he's got a new project that is just so inspiring and so impactful that when I developed this podcast, he definitely came to mind as somebody I wanted to have as a guest. So without further ado, let me introduce you to Dontrese Brown, CEO and co-founder of Brown and Baylor, as well as Hidden in Plain Sight. Welcome.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here.
Is that how you recall our origin story? That's how I remember.
Yeah, I was. It was a quick stint for me at Capital One. It was about a year, but you definitely made a memorable impression. And we've stayed. I mean, I don't know how we reconnected.
I don't know either.
Maybe it was just through LinkedIn, following each other, checking in, and all that good stuff. So it's just awesome to be here.
Yes, I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for being here. So there's so much to your story. Like I said, every time I meet with you, it's like a new initiative that's incredibly impactful, but would love to just hear a little bit about how you came to where you are today and what really shaped who you are today.
Yeah, thank you. So I like to start out by saying I'm a come here, not a from here. I grew up in Louisville, Kentucky, and inspired by the late, great Muhammad Ali, and, really took on a lot of his principles of social justice and community development, standing for what's right. Grew up in the projects, single mom, and it was really tough for us, but my mom really focused us on education and making sure that we really she really never allowed us to think that we had to stay there in the projects, right? Like, she was very inspirational of pushing us beyond the limit and challenging us from a educational standpoint. So I spent some, until I was about 13 in Louisville, Kentucky, and then we moved across the river, the Ohio River, which is flooding now, to New Albany, Indiana, where I actually went to high school. Played a little football, got a football scholarship, went to a small liberal arts school right outside of Lexington, Kentucky, called Georgetown College. Was a art major, which is ironic for a football player. But
when you said football, I was like, really?
Yeah, and
I can see it though. I can see it.
Yeah, played a little football and was an artist. I was an abstract painter at the time, a sculptor, photographer, and thought that I would be somewhere in Europe painting and speaking French. Took many years of French in high school, many years of French in college. And in my junior year, got introduced to motion graphics and design, and was just hooked. Was really passionate about this new thing that just hit me in a different way, and started to just switch my mindset to the future of graphic design and the space that it could create and the opportunities that were there. Nobody really knew. And so, ironically, our school, Georgetown College, did not have a graphic design program. So after the presenter left and talked to us about graphic design and advertising and marketing, the very next day I went to my professor and I was like, I want to get into this, but we have no program. And so he challenged me to figure out what we could do. So over my sophomore to my senior year, I helped him create the curriculum for a graphic design program.
Wow.
And I was the first student to graduate from Georgetown College with the graphic design
You
degree.
carved your own path.
So it was super exciting. Learned a lot in that process, particularly from a leadership standpoint, influence, a lot of things that we talk about in our leadership courses and our facilitations that we do. And it was really exciting. So I left Georgetown, went to Morehead State, got my master's in graphic design, and then came back to Georgetown and taught the program that I started a few years ago, which was really exciting. At the same time, completed my MFA from Savannah College of Art and Design, and was super excited about that. And then made my way through from Kentucky down to Miami, Florida, which is weird, but I met my wife. She was a collegiate women's basketball coach. She played at St. John's in Queens, New York, and she had a job at the University of Kentucky. So we met there, moved down to Miami, chasing her. We got married there and then ended up in Connecticut for 10 years. Wow. And then once we got to Connecticut, I was really in higher education, but once I moved to Connecticut, I wanted just to get a taste of the corporate world from an advertising and marketing standpoint and creative strategy. Worked for some big companies, but the main one was Victorinox Swiss Army, global organization, which I was the creative director there, and really enjoyed it. Building in-house teams, I really became really good at that. Got on the speaking circuit of going across the country, talking about how to build creative leadership teams in-house and how those work with your lines of business partners, to use a term from Capital One. And become a partner in the business instead of like a service. So did that for a while, had 2 kids. And then I started to think, like, what's the world going to be like for them? And how can I impact the world better for them? So my mindset started to shift around 2012, 2013 to really want to do, I really wanted my work to make an impact in whatever community I was in, and then for the world as a whole. And so, growing up in poverty in the projects of Louisville, Kentucky, there were 3 buckets where I feel like I sit at the intersection, and where my focus is now is community health, economic mobility, and education. So I started to really identify, one, what my purpose was, which is ironic because we're talking about that in our coaching sessions. And then 2, how can I make an impact within those buckets in everything that I do? Because I feel like those things could make a dent or a difference in the world. And so I left Swiss Army, had no job, no anything.
Wow.
I went into HR one morning and said, I'm not supposed to be here. I'm supposed to do many different things within those spaces. So after I left, I started getting involved in K through 12, higher education, nonprofits around those 3 buckets, and really started to find a groove. And I was still going out speaking around creative and building in-house teams, but it changed from just creative to just to more like creative leadership and personal development. And so I was able to tie, here's how you build your creative team in-house, but here's what's most important about building that team, about the culture that you're trying to build, and about the ideas that you share with that team and how you develop that team overall, but also how it impacts each of your team members as well as yourself from a personal development standpoint. So that was really cool. And I was finding this really cool groove. And then all of a sudden, Capital One reached out. And I'm like, what the heck, Capital One? How does this align with, what I wanted to do? And eventually, through some recruitment and some excitement around the banking side of the business. So I came in as director for creative for all of the banking side of the business, all the 6 lines of businesses, which I thought was in line with what I wanted to do from a giving back to the community standpoint, right? Financial literacy is a huge thing for historically underrepresented communities, understanding how all those things work and generational wealth. So I felt good. So I came here to Richmond, and I'm very spiritual, right? So I was like, what the heck? What Richmond? I only knew one thing about Richmond, and that was Arthur Ashe. But I was like, you know what? The Spirit is driving me here for some reason. Once I get there, we're sinking our boots in. We're going to get involved in the community. And within 3 months of Capital One, I was like, this isn't the right fit. Just because my purpose was driving me so much that it wasn't the right fit. And I knew it. But my family had already moved here. Everybody was in school, everything. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I supposed to do now? So I figured, let me finish out a year and then let me really start to stretch out in the community. So I really got involved in so many different things internally at Capital One and externally at Capital One. From a community development standpoint, social justice, leadership standpoint, really trying to touch a lot of different things within those three buckets. And so once I left Capital One, I hit the ground running. I mean, I was connected with the right folks, involved in the right conversations, being able to be lifted to lead some great initiatives for the city, and really started to feel this groove where I was feeling satisfied with what I was doing from a purposeful standpoint. So as we get into, the Brown Baylor component, the Arthur Ashe initiative, Crystal Ray Richmond High School, hidden in plain sight, all those things, and some boards.
I told you there was a lot.
Yeah, and some of the boards that I'm on, because those are really important to me too. We'll fill in some gaps there. But that's it, and that's what kind of led me to where I am today, and sitting here with you.
Wow. What a diverse, wild ride of starting off in the projects, getting into football, getting into art. What was the thing that made you realize art was your
that's a great question. So when growing up, we didn't have a lot. So it was either something that you would do outside at the park, basketball, soccer, kickball, baseball, whatever, or it was something around music or creativity. And I just got into really enjoying music, but then, I was always drawing stuff. I mean, I was always sketching out this and sketching out that. And my creative juices really inspired me to continue to want to do it. Because some of the things that I would do, folks would be like, oh man, this is awesome. This is beautiful. You did this? Yeah. And you start to get that confidence. And so I didn't know what I wanted to do in high school. I knew I wanted to play sports. And then I knew I loved art. So those were the two things. Yeah. When I got to college, I didn't know what I wanted to major in other than I'm really good at art. So that was it. And I felt like I was a good communicator. So communications was a minor that I had. So yeah, creativity has always been a part of who I am.
And then what was the draw to Muhammad Ali?
He's a hometown hero. And he just stood on values. He never wavered on values, but he was always passionate and concerned about the other people. And as brass as he was, the Louisville lip, what they called him, as arrogant as he seemed, he was a very compassionate and empathetic individual, and really has left a legacy that a lot of people admire and respect.
I love that. And then you and I share this spiritual kind of faith-based value. How has that played a part? It sounds like you've taken just some major, monstrous, courageous leaps. How has that really played out?
Thank you for asking that. In today's world, it's I feel very comfortable about my spiritual journey conversation, talking about some of those things. There was a time where it was almost kind of like taboo, like you didn't talk about religion or your spiritual standpoint. But from the area I grew up in, for me to be sitting in front of you today with some of the things that I've done, according to statistics, I should be dead or in jail. Black, fatherless, and poor. I should be dead or in jail. And the fact that I'm sitting here and able to look back on some of the things that I've done, and hopefully that it's inspired folks to really pick up some things and move forward with their lives. It has to be something there. The chances that I took, I'm always a firm believer of leap and the net will appear.
Yes, leap and the net will appear.
And that's how I know that my faith doesn't give me more than I can handle. It challenges me. It makes me more faithful because you have to have some type of belief that it's going to work out somewhere, somehow. And you just have to trust in that. And so my grandfather was a Southern Baptist preacher. And I was Baptist all my life. I mean, we were in church probably 6 days a week at least, doing something. And once I went to college, I wasn't as practicing. I didn't go to church every Sunday, that type of deal. But I've always been spiritual and faithful. And then when I met my wife, she was Catholic. And so we decided when we got married that we would raise our children Catholic because I wasn't practicing as much. And her family was what did you say it? Catholic from what did I say? From the cradle to Catholic or something. I forget the term, but
hardcore.
But they were legitimate with it, and so I knew eventually, and we knew eventually that I would probably transition into Catholicism, but there was no pressure from my wife, and I did follow my faith journey and transition into Catholicism in 2018, which was actually pretty cool when you have two kids that are coming up through the Catholic religion and understanding all the things you do at the church and da-da-da-da and how all the things. And so it was really cool when they were teaching me things. Hey, Dad, you have to stand up when we do this, and this is what this means, and you got to say this, and this is this and that. And so it was like a family thing, So it was great for us as a family. And so faith has been a tremendous anchor in my life.
Yeah, it sounds like, you have such purpose. Like you were like, these are the 3 strategic areas where I'm going to lean in and I'm going to focus. And then you have your faith and your drive, your mentor of Muhammad Ali, and all of that has just led you to do amazing things. So let's take a couple minutes to talk about some of these amazing things.
Great.
Like every time I meet with you, I'm like, what? All right. So Brown Baylor. What's Brown Baylor?
Yeah. So Brown Baylor is a small marketing firm in Shockoe Bottom. Brown, of course, my last name. Baylor is the last name of my business partner, Hezekiah Baylor. He's born and raised Richmond. And I met his wife when I was at Capital One speaking at some engagement. She came up to me afterwards and said, you got to meet my husband. He's been looking for somebody like you, and I just need to connect you. So we connected with each other. And then throughout a few years, we were just past work back and, hey, I need your consulting on this, or I need your help on this, or thought leadership on this. We would pass each other work. And then one of his really good friends growing up was a gentleman named David Harris, who is Arthur Ashe's nephew. And so he introduced me to David because David and his family wanted to rename the boulevard Arthur Ashe Boulevard because the city of Richmond was going to tear down the Arthur Ashe Center. And in like, if we tear this down, what could we do? David offered up, well, if you tear this down, we want to rename the boulevard. And so I got involved in that. And that's how Brown Baylor was born. Wow. Is we decided to, sitting in Mayor Stoney's office with, all the high rank officials sitting in there with us. We needed to kind of identify who we were as a group supporting the family through this creative strategy and leadership process. And so, we did. I mean, it was amazing, for someone that's not from here to be able to be trusted, one, by the family, but also by the community to do something as impactful as renaming the boulevard to Richmond's son was powerful. So that's how Brown Baylor was established. And what we focus on is we focus on doing work for organizations that have a commitment to the community that they're working in. And it took us a while to get to that point, because a lot of times when you think of doing that type of work, it's always quote unquote nonprofit work. You do it because you're passionate about it, that type of deal. And a lot of times the funding component struggles with that, right? But we decided that's where we wanted to be. And my business partner has been a tremendous support system, because I come in, I'm ready to just move things, like not necessarily change, but inspire movement from what you've already done.
Progress. How
can we continue to leverage that? Some people will take that differently. Some people will think of it as, oh, this guy's coming in here, he's trying to change all these things, No. I'm trying to move mountains. I'm trying to move things ahead. And my business partner was really cool of allowing me to see the term we use, the capital one, the landmines, right? Like, hey, you may not want to step there because give me the history. Okay. You may not want to push that. Give me the history. And then I would, from a leadership standpoint, figure out how to address those scenarios.
I love it. We're already leaning into our leadership topic. Before we dive completely in that, I just want to highlight tell us about Hidden in Plain Sight.
Yeah, so Hidden in Plain Sight is something that we developed after the murder of George Floyd. We wanted to add to the social justice narrative, but from a different perspective of what was out there. I had just come off the Leadership Metro Richmond program in 2020, and our immersion group was focused on criminal justice reform, which focused on, of course, the projects and the jails, but it kept talking about Lumpkin's Jail, which I had no idea where it was. And ironically, my office in Chaco is a 5-minute walk to it.
Wow.
And then I realized that I had been walking by this place, driving by this place every day, not knowing the historical context. And so we developed Hidden in Plain Sight, SITE, for sites that people walk by every day, not knowing the historical context, initially from a Black American experience standpoint, but we've expanded that to any historically underrepresented group. So we based it, it's a web-based platform with the VR component of initial sites. We did initially 12 sites here in the city of Richmond, launched it in October of 2020, which has been amazing. We partnered with the VMFA in 2021 and did a specific Hidden in Plain Sight VMFA, focusing on the grounds that the VMFA sits on, the Confederate campground, the hospital, slave houses, all of those things. And then in 2023, we did Hidden in Plain Sight Roanoke, which we focus on Henrietta Lacks. And hopefully, within the next couple of weeks, we can announce we're looking to do Hidden in Plain Sight Little Rock, Arkansas, which is really going to be exciting. We're in conversations with Charleston, conversations with Atlanta, and then I've just had some initial conversations with Louisville. So the whole premise of this is to Hidden in Plain Sight exists to use technology to change the future of cultural education for any historically underrepresented group. And we know that it's scalable. We know that it's not only regional, but national and global. And so now we're in the process of pushing that thing through.
Oh my gosh. Huge.
Yes.
Huge.
Yes.
All right. So what's the leadership topic that you brought for us to chew on today?
Just because I think it's just the diversity of leadership. Like there's so many ways that you can share your leadership or develop your leadership in all aspects of your life and all aspects that you do. I think it's important to look at the diversity of what leadership can look like. It doesn't have to be in one specific lane. You know what I mean? It could be, for me, because, I'm like I don't even know.
Swiss Army knife.
And so there's so many different ways that I leverage my leadership that I think it'd be cool to talk about.
Yeah. So let's talk about when you say leverage my leadership, like how would you define my leadership?
So that's a good question. I would say my leadership style, or just my leadership in general.
Like anybody, like a listener could be like, my leader, like, what do we mean by my leadership?
So one of the things that I identified around 2012, 2013 was what my purpose was. And my purpose in life is to help others see their potential, but also their ability to reach their potential.
Yes.
That's all I'm here for. That's why God has put me on this earth, to do that. And I've realized, and once I realized that, it allowed a lot of the heavy weight of what am I supposed to do in this world and how am I supposed to do it? So saying that and understanding what that purpose is, my leadership can cross many demographics, many sectors, many industries, many genders, many associations, because my focus is the empowerment of other individuals so that they can see the value that they have in themselves and how they can impact the world.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is like your leadership is knowing your purpose and then moving
Yes.
into your purpose. And I'm a huge believer too, that once you know that, then jump in the net will be there.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So that would seem really overwhelming to someone, maybe to like know my purpose.
Yeah.
What would be some of the tactical tips you might give someone when it comes to knowing their purpose?
Yeah. And I'm glad you asked that, because a lot of times people think it happens instantly, and it doesn't. So I remember sitting in my office. There was a time when I was at Swiss Army, I would get into the office around 6:30, and I would sit in my office with the door closed, and for an hour, I would reflect. At the time, I was reading a book by John C. Maxwell called The 17 Indisputable Laws of Personal Growth. And it was one of my favorite books, but it really challenged your morals, your values, your aspirations, a lot of self-reflection, a lot of challenging conversations to yourself, a lot of action items to go out and start to fulfill some of the things. And I did that for like 3 months straight.
Commitment.
I did it for like 3 months straight. And then when I came out of that, I found out what my purpose was.
Yeah.
And I remember writing it down and saying that this is my purpose. So then what I did is I just kept repeating it, so that it became, boom, automatic. I can say it in my sleep. I can say it anytime, anywhere. But I knew that every step I took was in alignment with that. So the process of that is tons of self-reflection and tons of honest conversations with yourself around where you are and what you want to be, what you're doing, what you need to stop doing, what you need to keep doing, and then how to continue to challenge yourself actively around following your purpose. And that includes what you do at home, what you do at work, what you do in the community, what you just do in life. Like leadership is 24/7, 365. Okay, in all your conversations. So those are some of the things I would say. First, self-reflection, and then starting putting things in action. Writing down, finding some books around leadership, and start writing down some things that you want. Set some goals, set some agendas, and build a routine around practicing those things. And then just start actually getting out in the community and start trying those things, start engaging in those conversations. And you'll see, once you identify what your purpose is, and you may not have it. I mean, it took a while for me, and I was still kind of like, I felt good about this purpose, but should it be more? Should it be less? Should it be more audacious? Should it be simpler? But once you feel comfortable within that, you will realize so many things that you don't even bother with anymore.
You know what to say no to.
You know what to say no to. You have, no, that doesn't fit within this, and it doesn't fit within that. Here's where I am. And that for me was really pivotal to be able, because as you see, I mean, I'm in everything. And then it's like, I I had to, start to pare back some of those things and focus if I'm really going to stay in tune with this, because I felt like all the things that I was doing was fitting within that. But then was I given the energy and the effort to all of those things? Mm-hmm. So yeah, those are just some of the things that I would say. Challenge yourself, having those hard conversations with yourself, having those hard conversations with your peers, your family, questioning, asking, okay, and what? Okay, what else could I do better? How could I be better at this? How could I be better at that?
Mm-hmm. I love that. I love you had a book. It reminded me, a theme I'm finding in a lot of these conversations is there are books that are pivotal to people's leadership. Mine was Awaken the Giant Within by Tony Robbins.
Yeah.
Somebody gave me that book and I read it, and that was like the light bulb came on, the purpose was defined. It was like,
you'll know it when you read it, when you feel it, it just starts to resonate.
Yeah. And I think, there's books that can help you clarify your purpose, simply reflection. Like now I'm in a journaling state where I'm like journaling 3 pages of my thoughts every single day. And so often that like refines purpose. Programs like Dontrese and I are involved in different leadership programs around Richmond that help you define your purpose. And then coaching. Yeah. Coaching is another one. If you want more of a personalized experience, you can work with an individual coach that can help you do that. So
Absolutely.
I love that. I love there's so much diversity to leadership, but at the end of the day, it's clarifying your purpose and having that giving you the direction of where you take it. Mm-hmm. And it's so impressive. I'm so thankful that Capital One brought you here to Richmond.
Yeah.
I look at what you've done.
Yeah, I'm super excited about the work that I've done here, and it's one of those things as it's for me it's because I'm so purpose driven, and this is why, like, whenever you and I reconnect, you're like, what are you working on now? Because I'm on something else, but you'll do one thing and you'll finish that. And then I'm on to the next because I'm continuing just to try to stay steadfast within my purpose. And so what's the next thing? And it's for me, the pace is normally around 12 to 16 months. I'm in something.
Those are your sprints.
Yeah, those are my sprints. Basically. Those are in every 12 to 16 months. There's and within that, I'm still working on all these other a lot of other things, but the main there's some major projects within there. So education is a huge component to, my 3 buckets. So, I led the feasibility study and the pre-launch for Crystal Ray Richmond High School, which is here, which is a school for low-income students, has a unique model that every student works 1 day a week at a local business partner.
It's been so fun. I've gone into different businesses and I've run into your students and they're amazing.
It's unbelievable to see to know that I was a part of bringing that here, to see and hear conversations like you when you walk into businesses and you see these kids in their uniforms and, their maturity level and them being in an environment that they never thought that they would be in.
Mm-hmm. And that's thanks to you.
Right. And so it's a faith-based organization, but you don't have to be Catholic to go there. It's a Catholic foundation. It's all about, it's not evangelizing anything. It's just all about, ethics, morals, values, preparing you for the world. 100% of students we graduate 100% of our students. 100% of those students get accepted to college. And around 96% of those students go to college. And so, our philosophy is through and to college. And so excited about that. And so, I don't know. I feel like it's my responsibility. It's our responsibility to give back to those behind us, because there were so many sacrifices for us from people before us that allowed us to be in the situation we're in today. No matter where you come from, there's someone or somebody or some group of individuals that did something that allowed you to be where you are today. And we need to make sure that it's our responsibility to continue to do that. A lot of things I won't see. Maybe I will never see, the student that graduated from Crystal Ray and ends up being president of the United States, ends up being president of Dominion Energy, ends up being the president at, some major corporation. That doesn't matter to me. As long as there is some type of spark that allows them that foundation to continue to go and do great things, then I felt like I've done what I'm supposed to do.
Yes, and you were doing it. I can feel it. And it's very visible in seeing all the great things that you've done. I love your passion. I love your purpose. And thank you so much for taking time out of all the amazing things you're doing to be here with us today and to share your lessons learned. Yes. So we always close out thinking about who are 2 or 3 inspirational leaders that here in the community that inspire you, that could be great future guests. So curious, who comes up for you?
Yeah, this is pretty easy for me. One of my really, really good friends who's been a ride or die partner for me since I've been here, James Warren, who is vice president over at JMI, a marketing and advertising firm. But he also has a platform. He's the president and CEO and founder of a platform called Share Your Stories, Share More Stories. Ooh. And a phenomenal writer, storyteller, leader within the community, very purposeful about his work, and very inspiring. So he's one. And then Ashley Williams, who is the co-founder of an organization called The Well Collective, which there's a long story behind it, but it is basically developing the well-being of individuals in all aspects of their lives. She's also created a historical component of understanding and guiding folks through the negative history of our country, acknowledging that, and then how we come collectively to figure all that out and how it makes us feel. How do that makes us move? How do we manage those emotions? And then collectively, how do we do something better for the world? So those are 2 individuals that definitely popped in my mind. And I think you'll be super excited and impressed with each of them.
It sounds like it. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Well, Dontrese, thank you.
Of course.
We'll be together again soon, I'm sure.
You got it. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Hey, listener, if you enjoyed today's session, take a moment and subscribe, or comment below. Especially leave a comment of a leader that inspires you here in Richmond that might be a great future guest. Also, if you're finding this session compelling and eager to learn more about yourself and your own leadership, don't hesitate to click into my website listed in the description and schedule a complimentary call. I'd love to learn more about you. Thank you.